Why does having optimized range of motion improve speed, endurance, and reduce core body temperature? This was a great question that came in from Chris, and the question is relevant to a video that I've done and also discussed on several podcasts. I think people underestimate the value of being flexible. Notice that flexibility and range of motion, those are synonymous. I think they get taken out of context. Like a lot of things on the internet, it gets confusing. The information gets convoluted and things get taken way down the wrong road out of context, which creates a lot of injuries, which frustrates me to no end. When we look at functional range of motion, it doesn't matter if you're a swimmer, a runner, a cyclist, you race motorcycles, skateboards, wakeboards, gravel bikes. It doesn't matter what your sport of choice is. Stop and think about every joint in the body. A joint creates leverage, and when that joint is complemented with a strong front and back, inside and outside, you're going to be more agile for agility sports that we refer to as ball and stick sports. Anything that involves acceleration, deceleration, pivot, and accelerate. For endurance athletes, your ability to sustain good biomechanics moving forward for an extended period of time. When you look at our motorsports division, the ability to be flexible and move around, especially if you're riding something like a motorcycle where it's a moving gyroscope. You have a motor that's pushing and accelerating, decelerating. You're trying to figure out where you need to be on it. Stop and think about everything you need to do, no matter what your sport is. When you have optimized range of motion, so for example, let's look at my arm. If my bicep is overdeveloped, you know how you see the people in the gym where their arms, they physically can't straighten them out? That's because the bicep has gotten so strong that the tricep cannot get the joint back into anatomical neutral. If you're, let's say, a swimmer and you can't get your hand all the way over your head and you can't get that shoulder mobility, you're going to lose that ability to get out in front in a catch phase. If you don't have good biomechanics in your shoulders and you're pushing and pulling a set of handlebars, you're going to essentially run into your own physical bumper. For those of you that ride motorcycles, you're not going to be able to keep your leg out of a rut if your hamstring is extremely tight, and that's going to excessively fatigue the top of your leg. Again, I could go through each and every sport, but stop and think about every joint in the body has a muscle on the front, the back, the inside, and the outside. So for a joint to create max leverage complemented with muscular strength, because that's what everybody watching this video wants. They want to be faster. They want to have better endurance. Well, get out of your own way. If the muscles are working against each other, so for example, if my bicep is overdeveloped, my tricep is extended. This is going to be fatigued all the time. If my chest is overdeveloped and my shoulders roll forward, my rhomboids in between my shoulder blades are going to be extended every hour of every day. Then when I go to reach for a pencil, that's why it wants to go into spasm. When you're looking at the sport specificity of performance, if a muscle on the backside of my body is tight, it makes any kind of movement more difficult. It has a higher calorie expenditure. It's just like you're running down the street and I'm holding onto your shirt. You're dragging me along. Well, when your muscles don't have symmetry, and that means strength and flexibility, we use the word range of motion. And I even said that flexibility and range of motion are together. Add the component of strength. Because if you over-strengthen the bicep at the expense of the tricep, well, you don't have the amount of leverage in your arm that you need. Throw a baseball, throw a football, swing a golf club, whatever it may be. So that's what you have to take into consideration. How do you increase speed? You want to increase the muscular power output of that muscle. How do you increase muscular endurance? Reduce the amount of self-induced friction that the muscles are creating against one another. It's very simple to do. You just do a flexibility test, bicep to tricep, quadriceps to hamstrings, inner thigh to outer thigh, low back. I mean, go find a good physical therapist and have them walk through. Find where your limitations are at, because if you can get those biomechanical joints optimized, you'll have better speed, you'll have better endurance, and I mentioned earlier you'll have a lower core body temperature, and that's because there's less internal fighting and restriction going on. It's going to lower the core body temperature. So put those together: faster, better endurance, and lower core body temperature. Doesn't matter what sport you're involved in, you're going to be performing better. So keep that in mind. Again, these are great questions that you guys are sending in, and the volume of questions continues to escalate every day, and that makes us happy as a team, because that's why we want to put this out once a day. We're going to answer your questions. So please, if you haven't subscribed, it's not a sales pitch, subscribe, put on the notifications. We're going to send a video out every day answering your questions. It's very important to us. If you haven't sent us one in and you want to, please feel free to do so at contact@coachrobb.com. On behalf of myself and everyone here, we want to say thank you for sending in the questions, watching the videos, and supporting the channel. We'll see you soon.